What's happening, guys? I'm here in my weekend getaway home, kind of communing with nature. Man, I realized that you guys really love the Art of Seduction series, so I'm going to continue on that process by giving you videos related to that process. So here we go. Let's get it today.
Yeah, I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there, guys. How's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today we're talking about the book, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. This time we're talking about choosing the right victim or choosing the right target. I don't really like the word victim, so I changed the word to target for this video. It's just important to understand that even though Robert Greene is using these words, prey, victim, it's not like evil or manipulative in any sense. So I want to give a disclaimer before I, make this video, obviously. Because there's certain people who misunderstand things, and you gotta be an adult, you gotta be mentally sane to watch these videos. So just making sure that you understand that before I move forward in explaining my own interpretation of this chapter or little section, you could call it. Robert Greene states that it's very difficult to seduce a person who's happy, completely happy with their life. Oftentimes, there is a void in their life, or there's something that is missing, and you fill that void. You understand what they're missing. He also mentions it's hard to seduce a person who has no imagination. And people who have a lot of time on their hands are very susceptible to seduction. People with very little time on their hands, who's working all the time, that's why we kind of get turned off to that. The way you choose your right target is you gotta understand how you're responding to them and the way that they're responding to you. So they might blush, they might overtly give you different emotional spikes and signals, right? You might be drawn to a specific kind of a person who might pull something out of you that might seem very new, or it's just like, whoa, this fulfills one of my childhood dreams or fantasies, or even might be slightly transgressive or taboo in a sense too. Like, for instance, I know that I'm very interested in girls who wear chokers. I don't know, man, there's something very taboo or kind of interesting about that style that's always stood out to me. So you gotta understand your own mind, not just the mind of your target, right? This really comes down to what are, other people's buttons, what are your own buttons? Can you seduce yourself, right? This is a very important aspect of this, because if you can't really seduce yourself, how are you gonna seduce somebody else? If you don't know how to float your own boat, if you don't know how to arouse yourself, if you don't know how to get yourself excited, if you don't know how to really take care of yourself and nurture yourself, you're not going to be a very good partner to that other person and form a relationship, which is really what we crave at the end of the day from these seductions. It's a lifestyle, right? It becomes a part of you, where it's just being alluring or being charismatic or being, dandy is a part of your beingness. So understanding the symbol of big game and the concept that challenges pleasure, okay? So that means you don't want to just catch the rabbit that just, goes into the net and is so easily accessible and everybody can have them, right? There's something powerful to understanding that this person was difficult to get. They were challenging to seduce, but then it ended up working to your favor. That feels like you've accomplished something, and it just feels better generally, rather than you easily getting it. If something is just easy to get, that means that it's just available to everyone. It's not rare, it's not refined, it's not majestic. Like leopards are clever and swift, so they provide a little bit of a chase, right? So, and a bit of a challenge. Like if you're thinking in terms of a hunter, right? You gotta know the animal that you're hunting, right? In a sense, because if you don't, you'll be confused. You'll be running around in circles. You'll be drifting. You'll be like, oh yeah, she's hot too, or he's hot, or he's handsome, and you're kind of gonna spin your wheels. But when you have a very specific brand archetype in mind, okay, the way you also do this is you can take certain quizzes, answer a quiz from your masculine self or essence if you're a woman, or you can answer a quiz from your feminine essence as a man as well, right? To really understand that this is like what I'm really craving is the feminine part of me, right? Like as a man, you gotta ask yourself, who would the female version of you look like, right? And think about it, like the couples that seem to work, they look like each other, right? There's something about that. There's a mirror quality in that. Even, some people say that twin flames have this quality, this mirror-like quality, right? Or, but there's a lot of jargon and BS in terms of twin flames and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna bring this up in this video, but just, you feel this like Kundalini activation when you are in connection to your twin flame, right? The stronger you notice your emotions are towards that person or experience or event, you notice there's more of a dynamic nature there because it's all energy, right? Emotions are energy. Your breath is energy. What Robert Greene suggests is you look for types that you might not have considered before. That's what will put you through a lot of learning and challenge and growth, right? Not going for your usual type of person might be one of the ways that you start to exploring the right target. This is my perspective purely, but what you're really looking for as a man is that Shakti energy in a woman that you're completely drawn to. As a woman watching this, you're drawn to that Shiva essence in a man, that container of presence, that energy that just holds you, where you can dance your feminine wild dance, be the nature that you're meant to be, and he is the bottom of the ocean. From a pure polarity standpoint, that's what you're looking for. Now, what that is a brand of is different, okay? Maybe you're drawn to one particular ethnicity or something like this. I know a lot of my friends, they have this one type, right? And it's just that they keep seeing symbols of that over and over and over again. You might even practice natural grounding to some of these archetypes. Maybe you're drawn to the muse princess or the diva archetypes. Maybe you might watch a Selena Gomez music video and natural ground to it as a man, right? Natural grounding is a process by Rion Kati where it's a Shakti meditation basically. So you're just observing and meditating to the music video. This is something that I've been doing in my spiritual process for a very long time, and it's incredible the results that you start to get from this, okay? And even in real life, you gotta observe that Shakti energy in women, and as a woman, you gotta observe the Shiva in man, right? So once you get really used to this, it becomes a natural process of, choosing the right target, because you're like, hey, I'm more clear now, like I understand. And sometimes there's levels, right? Sometimes you need to understand that you need to get into a relationship with a queen and then eventually get to a goddess. You might not be able to skip all the steps and get right to a goddess archetype, right? So it's also about understanding that this thing has its own process, and if we try to circumnavigate and put too many barriers and boundaries around what is possible for us, it might just keep us even more like stubborn in a sense, you know what I mean? Rather than like exploratory and discovering this journey. The people who respond to you or, maybe you're a little bit even challenged by you, trigger you a little bit, that means they have some form of a reaction towards you, right? There's emotions coming at you, right? And you can understand that, there's definitely like indicators of interest and all this kind of stuff, but it really comes down to more of the beingness and the essence that you carry and that they carry. I could definitely see her, being a good mother in the future, or I can definitely see her, hanging around my friends and feeling totally comfortable. I can definitely see her merging with my lifestyle and life in such a way that it adds to it, that it actually amplifies our strength together. This is where the idea of power couples happen, right? Where you are powerful in your own yang truth and she's powerful in her own yin truth, and together there is this formation of the divine masculine, divine feminine, right? What inspires you about this other person that draws you towards them? Because really what you want to be is a better version of them. and again, this is just my perspective, but I've noticed in my past relationships, like, if they're into spirituality, I know way more about spirituality in them, therefore I can play my role properly in the relationship. You know, I'm not like some kind of a lost puppy in this game of, you know, evolution and personal growth. So I think that definitely allows you to have more of like a guidance and a almost like a GPS or a strategy for yourself, where you're like, okay, hey, there's certain places, there's certain environments where my dream girl or dream guy hangs out, right? My dream target hangs out. Like, what are those areas? Like, what are those places? Understand that. For instance, I understand that my dream girl probably isn't going to be hanging out in some nightclub, though I might as well go to a nightclub, just like maybe your friends dragged her there, right? However, at the same time, I understand that, hey, maybe a girl that I like will probably hang out in, let's say, a self-help bookstore or something like this, right? She's just invested in her personal development and personal growth. And because that's a mirror to me, I understand that, oh, that's an interesting target, right? Depending on obviously what she's reading and other like qualifications obviously that go into that. But I think overall in general, you want to notice that, hey, how do I find my right partner, right? How do I know that they're the right person for me? Well, you gotta really ask yourself, like, what are the qualities that they have that are green flags for you? And what are qualities, like, you gotta know your green flags and you gotta know your red flags, okay? And you gotta know your yellow flags. Once you have this, you start to create a relationship framework or your own kind of boundaries, right? In a sense, where you're like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And by knowing that, I think it'll be much easier to magnetize the type of target that you actually want in your life. You can't put out into the universe like, I want someone with blonde hair as well as red hair, and, you know, also brunette, and also this and also that. You're like, now you're confusing the universe. You're putting out so many signals, and you're just kind of like this thirsty person or this desperate person just wanting some form of, you know, connection. You're not being very specific as to what is your highest ideal, and you're not claiming that. How does your target make you feel? How does your target make you feel? This is really, really important to understand, okay? Because you want your life to have some sort of a theme, okay? Let's say they inspire you. Is that a feeling that you want to carry with you throughout your life? What are your values, and do your values match your target's values? Like, if you want that popular hot girl, right, you gotta recognize that popular hot girl within you, right, in order for you to magnetize her, because if it's not within you, it's not possible to attract, you see? So you have to access, because there's a different type of language that a girl like that uses, right, TTYL and all this kind of stuff. So in any case, you're not gonna thrive with that if you don't feel that it's even possible, or you have all these limiting beliefs and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, in the back of your mind. My advice to you, if you're going about this journey, is first of all, understand what exactly attracts you, right? What pulls you towards that energy, and why, right? Is it because of a trauma bonding reason, right? Be aware of this kind of stuff, right? You don't just want to get into a relationship just because, you know, it triggers some core wound, and then you keep falling back into the same cycle and repeating the same relationships, okay? So what's really important in terms of this is like understanding that this person is almost complementary to my energy. So let's say she's more fiery, she might need my water energy to calm her down. Let's say that I'm more of a fiery type of personality, which I can be at times, but it's not my natural baseline or default mode. Then I would need a more of a water or cooler energy, right? You want to think of your target in terms of an elemental, okay? Now this is my own process. This has nothing to do with Robert Greene or his book, obviously. but you want to think of this person as an elemental. If you could boil them down to an element, to an archetype, to something more specific, right? You can find the right target. There's a lot more archetypes available than what Robert Greene has given us, right? In terms of this. So, of course, like I do like to think of these as main pillars, but then underneath them, there's so much value of these little mini sub-archetypes that give it strength or more of a pull, right, towards your essence or core beingness. Women have got to do the allure work. The work for allure is a similar process to charisma in men. However, I mean, you can have women who are also charismatic, but I mean, the female equivalent to charisma is allure, right? Let's start to understand these things and, speak into the listening of your target. So like the language that they use, you want to use that kind of language to open them up, because then you want to create this sense of familiarity with them. You don't want to use a type of artificial or academic language with someone who's never graduated high school, right? It just doesn't make sense. So there are very specific archetypes that might be related to your golden shadow that might speak up to you or, rear its head in your life. If you have a very specific archetype in mind, you might notice you feel like a little bit of a resistance to that archetype, but you know that there's gold there. You know that there's going to be so much treasure waiting for you with this kind of person, right? So Carl Jung said it yourself, your fear is where your next task is. If you're afraid of a certain kind of type of woman or type of man, right? You're like, oh, he's too high status for me. No, I can't really. There's something there for you, okay? Or you feel like, oh, no, I don't really know if I'm into the girl with the flowery sundress. I don't know if that's my type. Explore that there might be something there, right? That gives you insight into, hey, maybe this isn't my archetype, but at least you know because you've experienced that, right? At least you know that that's not your type. So you might as well, go for it. And, we miss 100% of the shots we don't take, okay? Wayne Gretzky. So don't limit yourself in this process thinking that, oh no, she's not my right archetype, right? Be loose, work on your shadows, approach this with like you're a jazz musician and you're just improvising, and just enjoy the process. It's the fear of your own greatness, right, that's stopping you from actually accessing this thing. And if you're interested, I have a golden shadow subliminal. You just have to listen 5 minutes every morning. And it's still available for $72 if you want. So shoot me a message if you're interested in that, because that's really going to help you with this art of seduction process as well. You don't want to make yourself a complete shapeshifter and mirror everything that they're doing, but if you notice, like, let's say they are mirroring some of your mannerisms or little things that you say, right? That's when you know that this person is kind of interested, right? When they're like, you have inside jokes and they're just telling you like this catchphrase that you always say or that you always do, or they remember something very significant about you. Now you know, like, you're on their mind, even when you're not there physically in person. They're thinking about you, like, waiting in line somewhere, or just, scrolling social media or something, and they see your story, right? There's been a lot of moments where the symbolic representation of you can be amplified like that. We're going to talk about like poeticizing your presence and a bunch of these other little sections which we can break down. But for right now, I hope this is helpful to you today. If you have any questions about this, shoot me a message. I do one-on-ones with people also, just to get them more clear about their archetypes and how to move forward, how to, actually practically do certain things to improve their archetype integration. I hope you enjoyed this video today. May the flow be with you, and stay legendary. Let's get it to the upward spiral, gang. You already know, every day we're winning.